Hello and welcome to this bonus episode of Words of the Wild, a podcast brought to you by the Scottish Wildlife Trust. My name is Ed and very briefly I will be your host for this episode. As part of our original series celebrating the Scottish Wildlife Trust's 60th anniversary, we hosted 6 storytelling events on our wildlife reserves across Scotland. The events were brilliant and we had a really great time finding some amazing wildlife and hearing lots of lovely stories. But we ended up recording more stories than we could fit into the original episodes. So we have decided to bring you 3 bonus episodes, each from one of our storytelling events. In this episode, we are heading to the wonderful Falls of Clyde, where our storytelling event took place on a lovely Sunday morning late in June last year. As you'll hear, Lindsay, our visitor experience manager at the Falls of Clyde, was joined by Amy, one of our young leaders, as well as a very enthusiastic audience for a lovely stroll through the woods and along by the River Clyde up to the falls themselves. There are some really lovely stories in this episode, all set to the backdrop of the sounds of the river and the songs of some very obliging chaffinches. So without any further ado, here are some stories from the Falls of Clyde.
Well, hello everybody. Thank you so much for joining me here today on this lovely Sunday morning. Thank you for getting out your bed so early. And I'm so pleased it's not raining. I decided not to take my rain jacket because that would be jinxing it. Thank you very much for coming. This is my favourite place to be in the whole world. So much so that I've actually worked here for like half my life. And it's just one of those super places that I love taking people to explore. It's lovely. I'm looking around and I see some familiar faces. So for those of you that I know, thank you for coming. And the new people as well that haven't visited before, it's going to be great to show you some of my favourite places. A wee bit of an introduction to the Falls of Clyde team. I'm the visitor experience manager down here. I do various different things to do with events, all the way through from badger watches to looking after the visitor centre, school groups, the watch group. I seem to have lots of different hats. We also have the reserve manager, Sven, and the ranger, the Clyde Valley Ranger, Nicole, who are having well-earned day off today. We have the seasonal ranger here today, Kirsten, and it's nice because she's only been here for 4 months or so. I think she's already hooked on Falls of Clyde too. And I should have introduced you also. So Amy, you're a young leader as well, aren't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
And you're going to be interviewing me, although it seems like I'm interviewing you right now.
Yeah.
To give you a little bit of background as well, Scottish Wildlife Trust bought Falls of Clyde in the year I was born, actually. So I'm now going to give away my age, 1978. So the year after that, they had their first ranger service as well. So it's not just us at Falls of Clyde and Scottish Wildlife Trust that think Falls of Clyde is so special. We have been designated as well. So you've maybe heard of a SSSI, or a Site of Special Scientific Interest. We were awarded that in 1971, I believe. And we've also in 2007 been awarded the gateway to the National Nature Reserves for the Clyde Valley Woodlands. So there's another 5 reserves down the Clyde Valley, ending at Chatleroe. I don't know if you know it, but we're the Clyde Valley National Nature Reserves. So all very prestigious. And of course we're standing in the World Heritage Site as well. Without the Falls of Clyde, I like to think that this wouldn't be here at all. You know, the falls were here first. The power of the water has been harnessed. Long before even New Lanark got involved, there would have been mills down here using the water. And that kind of excites me too, that we're going to be walking in the footsteps of people that were using water, you know, in the 18th century, right the way back to like the 14th century. But anyway, let's take a wee walk and I'll give you a little bit of an introduction as we go up here. We're going to be seeing these strips of ancient woodlands. I normally talk a little bit further up here, but it's really loud, the water. So this is quite a good point to talk about it. But there's special ancient mixed deciduous woodlands along the border of the Clyde. And that's one of the reasons why it's got these designations. It makes it so special. It's great for wildlife, great for biodiversity. And as I say, it's that ancient woodland as well. Also, it's got a unique fluvial geology. Now, before I go into too much detail, we do have a geology, or no, she's a geography teacher here. So she knows much more about it than me, but in layman's terms, and please do keep me right, the idea is that the glacial melts, so end of the Ice Age, 10,000 years ago, all the ice was melting and it was pushing the weight down of the meltwater. And instead of going its original route of the river, it actually just made its way through the soft sandstone and the shale, and it ate into it. So now it's like a diverted route of the river, and it's one of the best examples of it in Scotland. So that's one of the main reasons it's designated.
And we're looking over there, these massive conifers.
Yeah.
But then you made the point, the reserve was purchased by the Trust in 1971 from the Forestry Commission, who, as part of the war effort, bought compulsorily the strips on either bank and planted all these conifers, completely contrary to the conservation objectives of today.
Yeah.
So you're just in time. You were just in time to undo
all,
what the Forestry Commission, believe it or not, had actually done to these banks.
So we took over from the Forestry Commission in 78, and one of the first things that we identified is we need to get rid of these non-native conifers. They're not good for wildlife, and we need to put back to that sort of ancient woodland. So you will see that there's quite a lot on the courthouse side over here, and when we're walking up, you'll see that we've started to remove that. And what's really nice, because I've been here for over 20 years, I'm starting to see the difference. I'm starting to see the change, and you'll be the same. You'll be here long before I was, Graham.
I was born just slightly before you, I think.
Yeah.
Now you're giving away the secret.
How long do you think you've been a member for the Scottish Wildlife Trust?
How long do you think you were born?
How long do you think you've been a member for the Scottish Wildlife Trust?
I think I joined in the early 70s.
You're probably one of the first.
Not here though.
Yeah.
I didn't work here originally.
Yeah. Excellent. So you keep me right. In fact,
that's the last thing I was going to say.
So what drew you to the Falls of Clyde 20 odd years ago?
I did my degree in zoology at Glasgow University.
Oh, wow.
And part of the honours degree was you had to go and do a dissertation and study something and come up with a project. And John Barnes at the time, who was my lecturer and a member of Scottish Wildlife Trust, he said, why don't you go to Falls of Clyde? You live in Lanark. Go to Falls of Clyde. So I'd always come down with my dad and thought, why don't we just come down here? And we had a chat to the reserve manager at the time, who was John Derbyshire, and he's a badger fanatic. So that was it. So I'm not going to talk about the map for a long time, but it's useful just to kind of show you where we're going to go and show you where we own. And it's quite complicated, all the stakeholders involved, but it makes it us special, and that's why it's interesting. So we are down here in the World Heritage Site here, and this is the buffer zone that we're in. We're going to be walking up the boardwalk here to Corra Linn, which is the biggest waterfall, across the meadow and back down. So that's going to work out really nice for us. If you wanted to come back and go a lovely walk more, you could go up to Bonington Linn, which is the furthest away waterfall. It's about 10 metres high, and it's the sort of first in the four that go down the Clyde. So we've got Bonington Linn, Corra Linn, Dundaff Linn, and then we have Stonebyres, which is off the reserve further downriver. But Corra Linn is the one we're taking you today, and is probably the most famous of them all. And Dundaff Linn was the waterfall you can hear down to the left of us here, or the left of me, sorry. The water's not looking as turbulent as it was last week, but we've not been having quite as much rain. So this makes it perfect for looking for dipper, the little brown bird with the white tummy, dips up and down on a rock. Perfect for little pools for the kingfisher as well. And you often see the cormorant and the heron down here too. So keep your eyes open, and if I'm distracted by people chatting at me, shout if you see something exciting. Come on then.
Coming here, and the rangers love the badgers. did that really help spark your love for badgers too?
Oh yeah, John Derbyshire was so passionate about the badgers at that time. Oh, that was over 25 years ago. He was doing badger watches and had been doing them for several years.
Yeah.
So part of my project was going out and sitting in the woods watching the badgers. I had to do something like 30 by myself and record all the behaviours. So you couldn't not love them after that. They're such charismatic creatures, they're amazing.
And for you, like for this reserve, why are they a particularly important species?
So the steep gorge edges are perfect for badgers. They have perfect drainage. They can use the gravity basically to help them dig. It's nice, soft, sandy soil. And it's also great, I'll show you later, but it's also a great place for badgers to forage as well. Remember, Graham was talking about the conifers. When I first started here, there's conifers from here right the way along to here. And Ian Cornforth, a reserve manager at the time, decided to make this a little bit of a demonstration woodland. So he cut down all the conifers that you can see from here to here. And it's been amazing. In 20 years, you can just see all the natural regeneration coming up, lots of saplings. When we go under the conifers here, you'll see that there's hardly anything under there apart from the wood rush. So it demonstrates just how good for wildlife a mixed deciduous woodland is rather than the conifers. And of course you've got these wee ancient strips along the edge. And you can understand why they were left as ancient strips, because you know the Forestry Commission couldn't plant on them and we couldn't access them, and it's just been left as natural. So the only problem we have now is making sure that we take the non-natives away so that they don't seed in there.
Were they planted as trees, or was that just natural regeneration?
This is mostly natural regeneration, but you'll see that there's a few species that was planted in there. So when we come along to our little tree nursery, we've got a little area where we plant up some natives, and there's a few in there, a few sort of willow, and I think there's some ash in there as well that they've planted up. And we're always trying to go in and take the beech out as well. And it's such a big difference. I don't think people realise what we're doing, but we're really trying to put it back to what it was originally. Within reason, because Falls of Clyde is that designed landscape, if you like. So whilst we're trying to take out the non-natives and put it back what it was, there's some beautiful big trees, especially round about Corra Linn, like big Douglas fir that normally we wouldn't care about, or sycamore, and things that have been planted and have a lot of historical significance. They're in paintings, they're big key species that we want to keep as part of that designed landscape.
Heron today?
No heron. Oh, a fish jumped. As if on cue, a fish did a big leap there. It's perfect for riverfly along here. It's a really fine example of a river woods because you've got all these trees right way over the top. It makes it nice and cool for the fish underneath those bits, keeps the water temperature down. It helps for flooding. It's a good thing to have lots of trees around our rivers. You'd be forgiven for thinking this is a waterfall. This is actually a weir. And if you remember when we walked through New Lanark, there was a lade in New Lanark. So this weir is the weir for that. It goes under our feet up here, into the lade, and feeds the big water wheel in New Lanark. So it's an example of...
the lade?
The lade is kind of... It looked like the little channel of water, like a little... it looked like a mini canal almost going through the village. So it kind of goes through there, under our feet, through the lade, down through the water wheel. So you maybe pass the water wheel and then it's spat back out. So when they're taking quite a lot of water away, it makes Dundafflin not as glorious, but it is a very good way of making electricity because it's using the power of the water. So that's what New Lanark Mills are doing just now. I like to come here. This is one of my favourite spots for bats. So when we're coming along here, you get one of a type of bats. It's called a river bat or a Dubenton, and you can watch them dance along the top of the water. So the fish was coming up for the river fly, and the same as the bats, they'll go down and swoop and take the little flies off the surface of the water. And I like to go out with my bat detector and listen for them. It sounds like a machine gun or like tapping a tin, like when you take your bat detectors out. It's quite cool. So very different atmosphere when you come here, obviously with this big building and the noise. So this is the hydroelectric power station, and it was the first hydroelectric power station built in Scotland in 1927. It's just been recently refurbished on the outside, if you like, and I think it's a beautiful looking building. I was reading the other night that in the war, or during the war, sorry, they camouflaged it all because it stood out too much, so they had like camouflaged the whole building. There's a little bunker that we'll come up to as well that would have been like an air raid bunker. When we first started, 20 odd years ago, I hadn't really thought that kind of things through, that it was connected somehow to the people away back in the war.
They used the Clyde to navigate to Clyde Bank.
Oh, of course. Interesting. So yes, the water is taken from above that waterfall I was telling you, Bonington Linn, down through the underground tunnels, Bonington Weir, and then the tunnels, or the pipes, go overground here and into the hydroelectric power station, generate the electricity which is put into that substation, and apparently it generates enough electricity to power 20,000 houses. So it's quite cool to think that that's going up into Lanark and helping us all. That was the hardest bit, everyone. So this is Corra Linn. You can imagine in winter the amount of water coming down, and it's reported as the biggest river in terms of flow in Scotland, but it varies. So it can go to like a tiny trickle, even a tinier trickle than that. It's a classic cascade waterfall, so you can see how the water's been eaten away and making it kind of go down in these sort of shelves. And it's amazing to me to think that it's changing, it's ever changing. So when we come back, I don't know, if we could come back in a few hundred years, would it be different? Would it have eaten further back into the rock? I'm trying to think if it's changed in our time, Dawn, but I doubt it.
No, I think there's a myth here.
Do you?
I don't think it's retreating much at all.
No.
Because it wasn't formed by a neck point retreating.
Yep.
It was formed by the glacial breach and the meltwater.
Yes.
The likes of which we don't have anymore.
Yes. So unless there's another ice age, we're fine.
Exactly.
So you can actually feel the spray in your face in winter. It's amazing. What I think's really interesting as well is that, people would pay to come up here, and you would have had all these famous people coming. So Sir Walter Scott came up. You had Dorothy and William Wordsworth that came up as well, and they wrote all about it. We've got some paintings on the panel at the back there that shows some of the lovely paintings. Turner and Naismith, they all did fantastic work. So it's really inspired people through the ages. And it's funny to think that people are still getting inspired. I was up the other day and somebody was sitting painting and just drawing, and I thought, that's lovely. Maybe in a few hundred years that'll be worth some money too.